Hey guys, it's Shane Simmons here with Hillbilly Talk, back at you again with another episode. And you may be saying to yourself, is Shane wearing a Hawaiian shirt yet again after promising to get away with those? And yes, Shane is wearing a Hawaiian shirt, although I must say it's kind of a muted one. With the light on me, I probably glow like an angel. But anyway, there's a very good excuse for it this time. Like, I didn't have a good reason before, I don't guess maybe, but I've got a great reason now. And that reason is I haven't done laundry still. Yes, that's right. I'm never home. I'm always gone doing something, and it just piled up on me. And that's my excuse. It's a good excuse. It's the only one I have. But anyway, I want to talk today. I've got a trip coming up. I don't think I've shared with anybody yet, but I'm heading to Las Vegas. Yes, Sin City. I think that's what they call it. City that never sleeps. No, that's New York. So yeah, Sin City. I'm going to Sin City here pretty soon, and kind of would love to get some tips and hints from you guys because I'm kind of looking for ways to entertain myself. I've been looking at the Sphere, actually been even looking at a Wayne Newton concert and a few other things, but we'll see. If you got some suggestions, I'll try to check into them because I just get overwhelmed. It's one of the things I was wanting to talk to you about today is this is my second trip to Vegas, and I'll tell you a little bit about that first one because it's crazy. Now, if you're here for Hillbilly Talking or Appalachian stuff, it's probably a good place to exit, but it is a good crazy story that I like to share, so stay with me if you dare. So if you'll go back to the year 2020, and what happened that year? Well, we all remember the old COVID pandemic, right? Well, this guy had just got out of a divorce, just moved into a townhouse, and he got caught by this pandemic. And it was nutso, man. I got locked down, couldn't see my kids for over a month, and I got depressed and took all kinds of angles to entertain myself, if you know what I mean, and not proud of that, but so as the days turned into weeks, the weeks turned into months, if you remember, I got to the point where I was ready to snap. I'm like, I can't live like this anymore. Well, anyway, I rolled over in bed one night, and I was like, I could not sleep. I tossed, I turned, I thrashed about until I decided, you know what, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something drastic. So it was past midnight. I rolled over, grabbed my little phone in my little hand just like that, and I started searching. I was like, what could I do that would be drastic? Something just hit the reset button on my life. And I landed upon a trip. I was like, I'll go to Las Vegas. Me and my friend Jason from years back, we ended up doing the similar trip to New Orleans, and it worked out so well. I thought, you know what? Sometimes not being planned or ready is the best times of your life. So after midnight, I go and look and find a great deal. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Well, what do you know? The flight left at 8 o'clock the next morning. So I'm like, I've got at best 6 hours to sleep. Get up, get ready, drive. There's no way. So I tossed and turned, rolled over, slept the sleep of angels for about 3 or 4 hours, and then woke up excited, ready to go. I booked the trip. And it was crazy too because back then, I don't know if you remember, but how cheap travel was. There's just about giving stuff away. So I ended up getting a weekend. It may have been 3 nights. I want to say it's 3 nights. It was because it was a holiday weekend. I can't remember. Some minor holiday was coming up on that Monday. But anyway, so I ended up booking 3 nights and a flight round trip to Caesar's Palace for under $400. It was $389, and it may have crossed over $400 after the fees and taxes and all that stuff. But long story short, I'm out here in Vegas on just about $400. So I was like, I can't not do this. I get up, I'm so excited, and I go down, hop on the first plane here in the Tri-Cities and go down to Charlotte. And lo and behold, I'm walking around, and there's this guy, a big black dude, and his girlfriend, and they're walking around. I'm like, this guy's got to be famous. He's got to be somebody because he looks familiar. He's dressed super nice, and he's built, like a big athlete. And I'm like, who is this guy? Well, lo and behold, kind of got it off my mind, hop on the plane, and what do you know? The girlfriend comes and sits right beside me. I was like, oh boy. And so anyway, we get up, no big whoop. We fly off the ground, and next thing you know, well, she can't wait to talk because she's so proud that she is dating this fella. And I don't know if anybody out there watches the UFC, but her boyfriend was a guy named Anthony Rumble Johnson. Rest in peace, Rumble. Unfortunately passed away not long ago, or a year or two. But anyway, it was Anthony Rumble Jones. And is it Anthony Jones? Wait a minute. It's Johnson, isn't it? I hate not remembering. Rumble Johnson, yeah. Anthony Rumble Johnson. And so I'm up there, and I showed you how much I used to religiously watch UFC, especially his fights. But anyway, so we get up there, and she can't wait to talk about it. And sure enough, she turns over and trying to make small talk. And apparently what ended up, we talked about, she was a dancer / stripper out in Vegas. And she was talking about, well, you may know my boyfriend, Anthony Rumble Johnson. And I was like, what? Yeah, I do know. I've watched all his fights just about. And I was like, man, this is pretty impressive. And she was talking about how he'd been retired and getting ready to make a comeback and all this stuff. And anyway, I couldn't help but notice, because I was bored to tears and nosy, I'm not going to lie. But as I was flying out there, they were texting back and forth on the flight. I guess he'd paid for her to have Wi-Fi. And anyway, it was messages, and he was super jealous of her. And you could just see all these messages going back and forth, and she'd have to swear loyalty and all this stuff because, she was flying back to Vegas to go dancing again. He just wanted to make sure she wasn't doing anything on the slide. So that was weird. So I land in Vegas, check into the hotel, and this place is a ghost town for Vegas, from what I'm told. This was the first time I ever went, but the airport was basically empty. I go to Caesar's Palace, wait maybe 5 minutes before I check into my room, and I get out on the streets looking around. Nothing. There's no shows to go to. Everything was locked down, and so, well, I go to the casino and play and gamble. Well, I get on this roll. For me, I'm not, JJ got rocks or whatever, but I get out there and play, and I get up about that day about $800. So I'm like, man, this is a good day, man. I'm more than paid for my trip, and I'm flying. I'm on cloud nine. So I spend a bunch of this money on eating, and ate at a lot of good places. And so I looking around, trying to find things to do, and not a whole lot to do. You could shop a little bit. You could see the gondolas on some places, the Bellagio. So then I get this idea to go to Old Vegas, which probably the highlight of my trip. I get out there, catch a ride, go down to Old Vegas, get out, and I didn't even know this was there. They had the Mobster Museum, and it was the coolest thing I've ever done. It had a bunch of stuff about Al Capone, Bugsy Siegel, all these guys. Lucky Lucioni, or whatever, how you pronounce it, I'm not Italian. I'm just fascinated with his whole lifestyle, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. And I'm basically got this museum to myself. I mean, it was amazing. I got to see all these things. They have the actual original wall from the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It was amazing to see that in person and just be in that era. And it was like, man, this is so cool. So I go down there, and they have a restaurant, and I'm the only person in the building. Get down there and eat, take off, go to Old Vegas and see the old sign, and go play the old crappy casinos there. And it really is just as bad almost as they portray it in Vegas Vacation, where, might as well be, guess which hand it's in. Their games were crappy and everything about it was, but there's something about that atmosphere. If you've ever been, it's great. So then I went to a place called Evil Pie, and it was basically just this pizza place, completely themed for Evel Knievel. I was like, man, that was great. So that was a great day today. I come back, and you go back here, and there were actually a few showgirls out on the streets, and they came up and getting pictures. And then I ran into Elvis, impersonator, of course. But unfortunately, when I took the picture, he was wearing a mask. Cheapened it a little bit, but hey, I still had the experience. And so I got down there and had a great time. Spent all this money eating, wine and dining, still up. The next day I was up a couple $100 more, and then lost a little bit more down. So the last day, I'm getting ready to fly out. I got about 2 or 3 hours to kill before I have to get to the airport. So I sit down there, and I'm like, I'll kill some time. I'll get on this machine that I've been red hot on all week. Well, what do you know? I get there, and I start losing. I'll lose. And every now and then, how they do. They at least throw you some kind of bone to win. And I was like, I'm not leaving until I get this thing and win a little bit again and just get back here. So I got dipped down below. I was like, oh man, I really got depressed when I got below the $400 because I was really wanting to get a free trip. But I got down to $350, and I was like, well, maybe surely I'll win, get back up to that, and I'll quit. Got in $300, $250, $200, and you know where this story's going. Ended up at zero, flat broke. Lost every dime that I'd made on the week, and then I was in this depression. So I drove back in the Uber to the airport, and I was just ready to, oh my God, I was like, how did I let that happen? How in the world did I allow this to happen to me? And it's not my first rodeo either. This is no joke. I went to Foxwoods Resort in Connecticut and lost the, what's it called? Shoot, where they roll the wheel, roulette wheel. I watched the movie Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes, if anybody remembers that. And he has this famous quote in there where he says, always bet on black, and I always thought it was funny.
You ever play roulette?
On occasion.
Well, let me give you a word of advice. Always bet on black.
So I said, if I get on the roulette wheel, I'm going to bet on black. So I get up there and I lose. And I start doubling my money. I'm like, I started off with like $2 or something, then I was like 4, and then 8, and then 16, and ended up, I lost 9 straight times. Hit red 9 straight times, lost all my money, ran out of money, and about the time I ran out of money, what do you know, it hits on black. And I'm just ready to just, and why in the world I keep going back to casinos is beyond me. And I love them. I absolutely love the atmosphere. I love everything about them, but I never win. Never win. But anyway, getting back to Vegas. So I get back there and fly back, and I realized at one point when I was flying back, I was like, man, this is crazy. If my plane had went down when I was going to Vegas, nobody in the world would have known where I was at. I mean, nobody would have known what happened. Can you imagine the cool story? I mean, not that I want to die, obviously, but can you imagine the cool story if it's like you found out Shane Simmons' plane went down in Las Vegas? Why? What was he doing on this thing? This can't be real. What happened? You know, you get all this talk going about you. It would be so cool to be like a man of mystery, you know, like D.B. Cooper or something. But anyway, I thought about that as I was coming back. I was like, while I was there, I communicated with a few people, so they knew, and they all thought I was as crazy as I was. But anyway, it was just a fun experience that time, which leads me to my point of, I'd like some new experiences. So if you got anything that's so fun to do out there, hit me up. I'd love to know a little bit more about it. And maybe if I can possibly make it happen, I'll try to film a little bit while I'm out there too and post it on here just to give you a little taste of what my experience is like in Las Vegas. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next time.